Today, what was released was statements from Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer's depositions about Justin Baldoni. And Isabella Ferrer was an actress on It Ends With Us. I think she plays the young version of Lily, who's Blake Lively's character. So Jenny and Isabella were both actresses on set. And keep in mind that Blake has always said from the beginning that she was not the only person who was harassed, who was made to work in a hostile workplace where comments by Jamie Heath, the producer, and Justin Baldoni, the director, were inappropriate and were making people uncomfortable. She was the one who spoke up, who tried to, she called for this HR meeting without there being a real HR department, who brought this list of issues, who said all these things need to be addressed before we can go back to shooting. But it was not just for her. It was on behalf of other women who she had spoken with and was aware were also uncomfortable at their place of work. So these statements were released from their depositions, and then text messages between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift, text messages between Blake Lively and Jenny Slate, and then some emails between Blake Lively and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, because she had gone to them to ask for they're her friends, to ask for professional advice regarding this film. Lively first filed a complaint against her It Ends With Us co-star and director in December 2024 for sexual harassment. Lively alleged that Baldoni and company engaged in a social manipulation campaign to destroy her reputation. Lively also, so she alleged social manipulation. Meanwhile, Baldoni's legal team slammed the complaint as shameful and one that includes serious and categorically false accusations. Baldoni responded with his own lawsuit, but that was dismissed in June. Amid the drama, much speculation arose about the thoughts of those who worked on the film and a possible inclusion of Lively's close friend, Swift. On Tuesday, a transcript of Slate's deposition held on September 26, 2025 in New York, and Ferrer's deposition were unsealed, along with other evidence and documents, including unsealed text messages between Lively and Swift about Baldoni. Below, The Hollywood Reporter compiles the various texts, depositions, and emails unsealed earlier this week. A trial for the case is set for May 18th. Okay, so Jenny Slate. Here's the Jenny Slate part. During her deposition, several of Slate's texts were read aloud, and she addressed on-set issues working with Baldoni and Wayfarer producer Jamie Heath. Slate played Alyssa, Baldoni's on-screen sister, in It Ends With Us. She also claimed that she and Lively both complained directly to the studio. So the funny thing here is that Baldoni defenders have tried to make this a Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, but from the get-go, it has not just been about Blake. It was not just Blake who complained on set regarding Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni's behavior. It's just that Blake, being the star of the film, being the biggest name involved, and being the one who Justin Baldoni's PR team engaged in a social manipulation smear campaign against, that then led to Blake filing the lawsuit last December. In one message, Slate stated that filming the movie has been a really gross and disturbing shoot, and I'm one of many who feel this way. Okay. Justin is truly a false ally, and I'm unwilling to do anything that promotes the image that he is crafting as a male feminist, she wrote in one message. Honestly, I have no words to describe what a fraud he is. You cook that fraud, Jenny Slate. You cook that goddamn fraud, because that's been a big part of the Justin Baldoni manicured, manufactured image. One reason that the smear campaign was effective is because the narrative was Justin Baldoni is a feminist who cares about telling this story about domestic violence and being very serious in promoting it. When talking about the film, making sure to focus on the domestic violence that's at the center of it. He's a man who's been given awards for being a feminist. He has a podcast about being a male feminist. He's an ally. And Blake Lively's an evil bitch. That was the narrative People ate it up. It was very effective. His presenting himself as this strong ally, as a man who actually, as a man who actually cares about women, versus this woman who's clearly just an evil A-lister out to steal this movie from this poor man. He really had a podcast like this. Yes. And his podcast host ended their business relationship. His podcast was called The Man Enough Podcast. And he co-hosted it with Jamie Heath, one of his besties, also one of the producers, also named in the lawsuit, and Liz Plank. And it was about, it was all talking about toxic masculinity, what it means to be a man, resisting societal pressures that are just reinforcing harmful gender stereotypes. It's all about like how to be a real man with their man buns. Yeah. So Liz Plank left the podcast shortly after this big New York Times piece came out. In another text, Slate said of Baldoni, "I honestly have never ever encountered anything like this dude. He's the biggest clown and the most intense narcissist. Lots of lessons learned." In one message to her former agent in May of 2023 during production on the film, Slate wrote, "This week was really intense for a few reasons. It's like fascinating and also so shitty. Justin and Jamie are truly unfit. I'm not scared or anything, just repulsed and deeply irritated, and I know Blake is experiencing that on a much more serious level. I feel like it's about to get really bad, and I'm not sure what Blake's limit is, but she's really taken a lot of crap for them, like crazy shit. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that Justin and Jamie freak me out. Like they tell really weird lies, and Justin is astoundingly wrong-headed." God, you just from not just the specificity of Jenny Slate's describing what she experienced, what she was seeing, but also just how this is a type of person, a type of man that I think a lot of us are familiar with. You can absolutely get the sense that vibes were so fucked. Vibes were so fucked on this production set. And remember that just because it's the film industry, just because it's something that's, a little more unusual than most workplaces doesn't mean that it's still not a workplace. Doesn't mean that there are still not rules to be followed, that you can't just behave in this really strange, inappropriate way simply because you're making a movie. There's no justification for it. Slate also referenced Baldoni's TED Talk in 2018 about empowering women and redefining masculinity in another message. "I really don't get how he did a TED Talk. He's worse than the bros I've encountered, not because he's predatory, but because of his general fragility and misogyny. Not seeming to be aware of any of the obvious no-nos." Oh, yes. Okay. Slate, who plays Lively's best friend in the film, testified that Baldoni called Lively hot and sexy. Slate said that she flagged the inappropriate comments, which Baldoni did not appreciate. So Jenny Slate's deposition is also proving what Blake Lively claimed in her lawsuit. And this is what's so funny is every time a new piece of evidence comes out, every time another document is unsealed, all it does is further show that what was in the lawsuit Blake Lively filed against Jamie Heath, Justin Baldoni, and Wayfarer Studios has been backed up. There were witnesses to it. This was not just something that Blake Lively experienced without anyone around her either experiencing something similarly or seeing this happen. On another occasion, Baldoni told Slate that she looked sexy in what she was wearing. "I assume there was an understanding of we're not doing this anymore," Slate testified. "It's not appropriate anymore. It never was appropriate, but it's not appropriate in a workplace." Ferrer, who played the 16-year-old version of Lively's character, testified that Baldoni made an inappropriate remark while directing the scene in which her character loses her virginity. "I'm not supposed to say this, but that was hot," Baldoni said, according to her testimony. That's fucking weird, man. That is so gross. Farrer testified that the remark was out of place. It didn't feel appropriate in a work environment, and given that it was not necessarily like a note of any kind to do with my acting, it felt out of place and strange to hear about a scene, especially a scene that's meant to be a PG scene about two young teenagers having a very innocent experience intimately. In her own testimony, Lively said she was concerned that Baldoni had added several gratuitous sexual scenes to the film. Yeah, so gross. Real gross. And the fact, too, that he says here, per Isabella Ferreira's testimony, I'm not supposed to say this. So there's some self-awareness. There's some recognition that that's not an appropriate comment to make. And the other thing is, let's not forget that Justin Baldoni was in a position of power as the fucking director, as an owner in the production company that was producing the film. So it's obnoxious to me that in this conversation around power dynamics, that it's being framed over and over again as Justin Baldoni had none of the power and Blake Lively had all of the power. And that's why he's the victim in this situation. Yeah, he was starring in it. He was producing. He was directing. Very gross. Okay, let's get to the Taylor Swift part. Lively's longtime friend Swift's name has come up repeatedly in the ongoing legal battle between Lively and Baldoni, given that Lively previously identified Swift as a person in her orbit that would have knowledge about discussions regarding working conditions on the set of the film. Baldoni also alleged that Swift, along with Lively's husband Ryan Reynolds, helped Lively pressure him to make script changes to one of the film's scenes. Baldoni's legal team attempted to subpoena Swift in May. At the time, a spokesperson for Swift said the subpoena was a bid to draw public interest by creating tabloid clickbait instead of focusing on the facts of the case. Taylor Swift is irrelevant to the suit at hand, and yet Justin Baldoni's team was trying so badly to drag her in and to drag the Swifties in because of how much they have been trying to use the court of public opinion from the get-go. By attempting to drive this wedge using the media, using manipulation of social media platforms, they have tried to create this narrative of, it's like first that Taylor Swift helped Lively pressure him to make script changes, but then that Taylor Swift was also a victim of Blake Lively and her evil ways. It's very dumb. Okay, let's go through the texts. All right, so this is the one that I've seen circulating a lot. This is from Blake. Hey, just checking in. I have no reason to ask, but I don't know. I've been feeling like I should. Is everything okay? So this is in December of 2024. This is right before the lawsuit was filed. I felt like a bad friend lately because I was such a sad sack who only talked about my own shit for months. You were generous to not only be the key person there for me during all of it, but also to let me off the hook for being so in it. But I still have a feeling something may not be right. I told Ryan, he said just to ask you, but I felt so stupid and like it sounded needy and awkward for everyone, especially because I can't explain why I have this feeling. And you know I have toxic masculinity, so I can't be needy. But also, I do want to know everything is good, so I'm asking. I always want the opportunity to be a better friend if there's something I unintentionally did. I know how busy and taxed you are physically, emotionally, practically, so I don't expect any more from you ever. Just want to make sure all is good. And then Taylor said, no, you're not wrong, but it's also not a big deal. I think I'm just exhausted in every avenue of my life, and in recent months have been feeling a little bit of a shift in the way you talk to me. Yes, there's been a lot of the Justin stuff, but I've been through things like this before and I know how all-consuming it is. It's more like, and I feel really bad saying anything about this because your texts have been so nice in their intent, but it's your last few. It's felt like I was reading a mass corporate email sent to 200 employees. You said the word we like 18 times, and it feels awful to be in any way critical of any way you process what you've been going through, but I just kind of miss my funny, dark, normal-speaking friend who talks to me as herself, not like a plural unit. When it's a group I'm hearing from, I feel distanced from you even more than we are geographically. And I know you feel attacked from all sides for ridiculous reasons, so you're feeling like you have to overly explain things or be overly nice or whatever, but it's me. That's just caused a little distance. And then Blake responded, "Dear valued customer, thank you for your feedback. We at headquarters are reviewing your concerns. We'll get back to you in a timely manner." For real, though, you're right. I literally deleted the awful thing I was going to end that bit with because I've become digitally paranoid. And I do feel kind of bad because, and she goes on to say this, but essentially, like with everything she'd been dealing with from Team Baldoni, being concerned that text messages, that, you know, anything that she's put in writing was going to be released, when in fact it did, but it does not paint either Taylor or Blake as the bad guys here. And it's wild that Baldoni defenders and Team Baldoni have thought that this is ironclad evidence proving that Blake Lively is actually the villain in the whole story here, but I don't see that at all. Also, yes, they very much text like two millennial girlfriends. They do. Okay, so she says, "I'm feeling digitally paranoid. I don't know if you experienced that with phone calls after what happened to you, but after the thousands of text messages that weren't meant for me that I've been reading, I've internalized that everything digital may be public. I say that knowing it's irrational." Well, yes. Yeah. Well. But my brain can't accept rationale there. So yeah, I've been texting like I'm writing, not like me talking. I didn't realize that until you pointed it out, but I see it. On top of that, I'm over packaging simple things because I have felt so deeply misunderstood that I don't trust my judgment or myself anymore. That sounds over the top, but it's true. This fucking guy and what he did to me gave me an identity crisis legitimately. And I think that part right there is, to me, the standout part of these text messages, where when you are the victim of harassment and then something like retaliation, where it employs gaslighting, it employs Darvo techniques, turning it around, trying to convince you that actually you're the bad person, that none of this stuff happened, it can cause you to have a mental crisis. It's why a lot of people don't come forward, don't recognize like what happened to them was wrong, that they were a victim of abusive behavior, because of the effect that it has on you psychologically, because of these tactics that abusers engage in. And they're what we've seen repeatedly, not just from Team Baldoni, but from Baldoni defenders. And so her saying this fucking guy and what he did to me gave me an identity crisis legitimately, that is something that I understand, that I deeply empathize with. And I think that's the part in this that I don't understand how you read that and don't recognize this as a woman who had this happen to her, stood up for herself and others, and then was punished for it. And then because of all the horrible things that were said, it makes you start to doubt yourself. It makes you feel crazy. It destroys so much. And these are the aftershocks of being a victim of abusive behavior, is that it doesn't just, it ends with us. It doesn't just start and end with that, you know, that being done to you. It reverberates. It has lasting trauma. This makes me see Blake in a positive way. I'm not sure how the Baldoni team thought this would help him. Again, it's so fucking delusional. It's just so goddamn delusional. Okay, then she continues on. The thing that spooked me most in all this, though, wasn't the bad guys being bad guys. It was the good guys, my lifelong friends, allies to women who quietly dipped. And so I'm probably being over the top with my friends who stayed because I've never felt more alone. This track is very violin heavy. I hate it. Point is, I'm being a stupid paranoid weirdo and felt it, but didn't know where or how or when. So thank you for telling me and for saying I don't need to apologize and for not making it a big deal. But I am sorry to you, and I'm sorry to me and to our kids. Fuck that guy and fuck his whole gaggle of supervillains. You've got enough on you. You don't need to write back to all this. Just letting you know I see it now and thank you. I'm excited for you to be done with suitcases, constant sinus infections, and torn up kneecaps. So close. And then she ends with, your submission will be processed shortly. We thank you again for your patronage. Wait, this is sad? It is sad. And I think that's something too where people will lose those who they thought were in their close circles, people who they thought were not just their friends, but also like just generally on the right side of things. You know, it's like when push comes to shove and you actually see how people act. And for a while there, it felt as if Blake Lively was toast. That the narrative against her was too strong, and aligning yourself with Blake, supporting her publicly, that it would just be bad for business, that it would open you up to this business that you didn't want to be any part of. And I think kind of, you strip away the celebrity element here, and this is something that I think also feels relatable. You know, when it's like, oh, you're going through something horrific. You're going through, one of the worst things that's happened to you. And you see who actually stands by your side and who just fucks off when they think you no longer have anything of value to offer them, when they can't use you anymore, when there's like, they do a cost benefit analysis and you've come out as a negative cost. Okay, so there's those texts, and then here are some more. If you get here with this doofus director of my movie still here, I'll be ushering him out, but I hope he's still here. Can you do me a huge favor? I need help with him. Can you tell him we're excited for the movie, that you read the book, but what you're freaking out over is the pages I sent you. What a magnetic scene that is, or whatever descriptives you're comfortable with. I'll send you the scene. You don't have to read, of course. It's a quick read. He's a clown and thinks he's a writer now. This is April of 2023. So this was before production got shut down due to the writers' strike, I believe. And then Blake had that all hands meeting regarding the hostile work environment. And that happened in the beginning of 2024 in order to resume production, what needed to be implemented. So this is April of 2023 before that happened. Okay. But still, she's already like, this guy fucking sucks. So having the greatest living storyteller unknowingly echo to him how much you love what we're doing, giving him credit as if he wrote them with me will go such a long way. And you can also see how she's using her friend to be like, please pump this man's ego. Please tell him how great he is, that we love, we think he's so creatively genius, that you love what we're doing here. And then Blake says, you dug a movie out of a grave once already for me. And then I think this is Taylor saying, I'll do anything for you. And then Blake, I love you. Thank you. Text me when you're on your way. I'll have Molly meet you in security and garage. Headed your way. I'm on your street. See you soon. Okay. And then part 2 of April, text from April 2023. This is Blake. You were so epically heroic today. I recapped every moment to Ryan. I kept remembering stuff. You making shit up about me and lenses, referring to yourself as my doll, this clown falling for all of it, but also resisting it. You were the world's absolute greatest friend ever. I won the lottery. And then Taylor says, I won the lottery. You're the coolest person in the world and you like me. This is so millennial cringe. I say as a millennial cringe. And then Aladdin gif. Blake says, the most bonkers part to me is him saying that to you, he doesn't know pop culture made me more mad than anything he's done to me. His entire brand is disassembling toxic masculinity. He monetizes it. He does TED Talks, but says that to you. Not only is it so rude, but it's untrue. The thing that enraged me is that you are an absolute legend of your own. You are in an absolute league of your own in being both the most popular artist alive and one of all time, but also most respected and awarded. I think what this is, I think him saying he doesn't know pop culture means that like maybe there was something where he didn't recognize like how influential and successful Taylor Swift is, something like that. That's why Blake is saying his whole brand is disassembling toxic masculinity, but then he says that to you. The thing that enraged me is you're in an elite league of your own, yada, yada, yada. Popularity doesn't normally coincide with laurels. In very few cases it does. Steven Spielberg, for example, there's one. Do you think for a moment he would have felt comfortable saying that to him, even if he didn't know his work? You would never make a point to say to Steven Spielberg about his work that you don't know it because you don't know pop culture. Okay, so apparently Justin must have said to Taylor that he doesn't know her work because he just doesn't know pop culture. And then this is Blake being like, I can't believe he would say that. He would never say that to Steven Spielberg. This guy is such a fraud, blah, blah, blah. Blake, I've been raging ever since. Even though I know it all comes from what you said perfectly, he just so wants to be in the room but has to act like he doesn't. I see it. I understand that it's opposite day with him. He's so green, he thinks that's what makes him cool enough to fit in, when in fact it's fucking enthusiasm, fandom, and respect for those killing it that shows you're confident with where you are in life. I've also been raging at the NYU thing. I honestly want to retroactively take you out to dinner to celebrate that. You deserve to be studied. You're a human masterclass. Fuck yes, they see it. I've been digging up hatchets. I'll stop now. It also is just like the freaking narrative they tried to push that, Blake was a toxic friend to Taylor. When this is like very clearly two girls being like, slay girl, slay the house boots down. You're incredible. You're amazing. What I will say again is me and my girls talking shit. This is amateur. This is so nice. This is so vanilla. Ooh. Oh, this is kind. This is very tame. I love you and my babies, and get more protective about your hearts than mine sometimes. I'm so much less forgiving when it comes to someone messing with someone I love than when someone messes with me. I'm done. I just love you. I'm so ecstatic for you and grateful to you for today. That was stupid fun. Okay. Blake, I've finally gotten to get in the edit alone. No Justin. I'm going to make this movie great, successful, if it's the last thing I do. They sent me a trailer. I'd love to know what you think. I can change it. I'm just curious your reaction as someone who knows pop culture better than anyone, and also as someone who's read this book. Don't be thrown by your own song. They went out on a limb and kept it, which is cheating because it imbues everything with such gravity and quality. I'm torn. Obviously, your feelings decide it, but if you were open to it, on one hand, fuck them forever. On the other, I want this movie to work, and your song hits a main artery. Song variable aside, would love to know what you think. Please show Trav too. Would love his opinion also. The concept of Trav giving creative notes on a film. The concept of Trav giving his, first of all, Travis Kelce being Trav, and then giving his creative notes. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Okay, there's none. And so now this is in 2024. By the way, I have so much to tell you. The author Colleen reached out to me because Justin is on an internal smear campaign trying to get his edit through. So this was May of 2024. This was before they started doing press. And that's when Baldoni had hired the PR team. And what we then started to unfold on the internet and in these spaces that we normal people inhabit, this all was happening before we became aware of that. So apparently, according to Blake in these texts, Justin was already engaging in an internal smear campaign trying to get his edit through. Colleen was horrified, reached out on her own to talk to me. Turns out he fucking lied. She's not Baha'i, never has been. She's not friends with him at all. She actually hates him. She was his safety net all along. Meanwhile, he shut her out and wouldn't include her in anything and told her she had no voice or value, yet paraded her around in front of cameras for goodwill and told us all that all his decision he got pushback on were her ideas. She flew to New York where I screened my cut for the first time yesterday. It killed in the room. Bradley came. He watched it twice. He's been an absolute fucking hero. He made me feel so good about the cut. Matt and Lucy Damon saw it to give notes and instead just wrote Tom Rothman to try to push my edit through without a bake-off with Justin, which is also what Colleen is pushing for. It's wild and crazy times. And then I think Taylor said, no one should ever, no one, period, should ever, period, get into a war of wills with you. And I'm so excited to see it. Blake, anytime if you have free time, I'll send it to you. It's actually a fun watch now. Okay. And then December 2024. Oh, we already read these ones. But I think there's more here. Okay. Taylor says, first paragraph took me out. Blake, if only I sent you the unplugged version. Blake, I sent you a voice memo, but it doesn't show on our thread, which is really helping my case of not trusting phones. Did it go through? Taylor, yes, I'm just falling asleep, but we'll listen tomorrow. Love you. Blake, it's the length of a miniseries. Sleep. Blake, love you. Taylor, I think this bitch knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin. And what they're referring to is one of the stories that was pushed in the media, and in this case, People Magazine, where Justin Baldoni continuing with his pushing of this image of him being, being a male feminist, being a person deserving of your sympathies. What was concocted by his PR team that he hired. This is a story. Justin Baldoni reveals he was sexually traumatized by an ex-girlfriend when he was hoping to save myself for marriage. And the reason that they're talking about this is because they're like, this guy is so full of shit. And he is so obviously, he and his team are pushing these stories to try and present this image of him as this sweet guy who's, because he was a victim himself, that's why he's trying to tell this story of domestic violence and yada, yada. So this is not mocking him for having said he was a victim of an ex-girlfriend who also, he has said that others forced themselves onto him, but then he forced himself onto others as well. This was something that he was talking in the car with the driver, that he was talking with anyone around him where he'd be like, oh yeah, I just forced myself onto people as well. Baby Matcha Latte, thank you for the gifted. So this is like oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, this guy who is so toxic, who is such a misogynist, who has been hell to be around. This is PR. Like this is a clear attempt at good PR for him. And that's why Taylor said, I think this bitch knows something is coming because he's gotten out his tiny violin. And that's the part that the media is like, oh my God, Taylor Swift calls Justin Baldoni a bitch. I saw the craziest okay. Every day there's a new crazy take that takes the cake for the craziest take. And the one that I saw was somebody who's defending Justin Baldoni and said, interesting that you all protesting ICE got mad at that agent for calling Renee Good a bitch, and yet you're not mad at Taylor Swift for calling Justin Baldoni a bitch. I see the double standards here. Okay, so I guess it needs to be said, but one of those people murdered a woman in cold blood, and right before he did, he called her a fucking bitch. Like the fucking bitch was in relation to shooting her in the face 3 times. So there's a murder that was involved in one of those instances. Sorry, it was right after he shot her. Yeah, he shot her and then called her a fucking bitch, thereby that being the justification for murdering her, because how dare she be a bitch. And the other one is referring to this man who engaged in some real inappropriate behavior on set and then subsequent retaliatory smears and refer to him as a bitch. Taylor Swift did not shoot Justin Baldoni in the face and then call him a bitch. Can't believe they tried to compare the two. Oh yeah. This is what I mean by Baldoni defenders are some of are some of the most insane people online. They are always twisting themselves in the wildest of ways to defend this man. Also, bitch has historically been used against women, not men, as an insult. Like, it's not about men at all. They need to chill out. Yes. Yes. Let's not pretend like bitch hasn't historically been a gendered term, that it's not that it's not the same, when men are called a bitch versus women being called bitches. Yeah, your friend is being sexually harassed and you can't call a man a bitch. I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in a world where your friend who is the victim of this man, that you're not allowed to call that man a bitch. Doing mental gymnastics for a fucking loser. It truly doesn't get more pathetic. First time watching, I got to go to bed, but I'm so interested in this. I want to keep listening. You can catch the VOD. Okay, so then Blake says, I also love the tiny violin. Because this was the case. It's like, oh, this motherfucker created a toxic work environment, was harassing people. There had to be an all hands meeting due to the level of discomfort that arose from him and his buddy's behavior. And now he's going to try and make himself out to be just like, oh, this poor traumatized man who is fighting the good fight, who really cares about cultural progress and using his voice to try and contribute to a better culture, to try and dismantle toxic masculinity, to try and cut through the myths of abuse and domestic violence. Blake says, it rings different when he doesn't end the story by saying, did I always listen when they said no? No, like he did with me, but that must have not tested well in the focus group. He's being honored at the Vital Voices for Women event on Monday. Taylor, this is so disgusting, and I hate that he's clever about this shit. Well, it wasn't him. It was his PR team. I mean, it was him as well, but he hired professionals. He had a team of people who were working to be clever about this shit. Blake, this inspiring event celebrates men who are using their platforms, influence, and leadership to elevate women, combat gender-based violence, and promote gender equality worldwide. Taylor, well, not him, her. Blake, he's not. He just has a team. Yeah, her and his publicist, Jennifer Abel. Blake, and the comms people at his studio. Taylor, he needs to be beaten by his own words. Blake, everyone weighs in before we respond to a text, writes and emails, or trims his hair. It's wild that everyone participates. Blake, yeah, I actually think it's important he's honored, and to all the people honoring him and not taking a moment to question, no one talks to him, no one will say his name, no one follows him, yet they're all close with each other. She's talking about everybody else on the set of It Ends With Us. Maybe it was him. Nah, it was the women because they wore flowers. That's how you know. Taylor, Jesus Christ. Taylor, is everything still on track? Blake, oh yes. Blake, a week later though, but worth the wait. Taylor, okay, that's perfect. So I think they're referring to the lawsuit that would be filed, the New York Times piece and the lawsuit that would be filed later that month. And what they are also referencing here are the stories that have been pushed in the media, the smear campaign against Blake. And what she's essentially saying is, are people not looking around and going, wait a second, no one in the cast follows this guy. No one is doing press with this guy. No one seemingly fucks with this guy. And yet the women are the problem. And yet it's not this guy who's maybe the problem. Is no one thinking to themselves, maybe there's actually something going on here other than what's being pushed in the media, that everyone fucking hates his ass? Not even the author of the book is doing press with him, follows him. What's the common denominator here? Taylor, okay, that's perfect. His own words, that's going to be powerful. Blake, that's what's wild about this entire thing. Everything is in their own words. Taylor, it's the only way to beat liars and hypocrites. Blake, can you imagine feeling as confident as these predators that you're going to always get away with it? Him accepting an award as an ally for women, and Scooter going on about the world with his head held high as he co-owns and funds a crisis PR company that silences women. Taylor, it's like a horror film no one knows is taking place. Blake, oh, but they will. It's the only thing that can come of this, the good that protects other women from this happening to them. Meanwhile, I walk around feeling death sentence guilty and apologetic for being sarcastic and liking a theme party. Okay, this is December 2024. Taylor, you won. You did it. Roy or Orbison, I'm guessing that's Blake, and just change the name. It's turning. Taylor links a Deadline article. Justin Baldoni dropped by WME. Blake Lively sexual harassment complaint. Taylor, and you fucking helped so many people who won't have to go through this ever again. Blake, remember August? Loved, and you fucking helped so many people. Taylor, never has a cancellation been reversed so fast. You guys don't understand how rare this is to have proof and to take the perfect steps to bring that truth into the light. Blake, Ash, like, my God, I love you so much. I would not be okay through any of this if it weren't for you. Taylor, can you believe she just called and was like, this PR chick wants to get info to Blake. That means the world. Blake, it changed my life. Yes. So what we would see, though, what would proceed in the next year, which was last year, 2025, was that still on the internet, a lot of people, either just normal people who have still fallen for the smear campaign, who are still tapping into that good old misogyny, and believe Blake Lively to be the villain in this story, or content creators, commentators like Candace Owens, like Ben Shapiro's lookalike, like any number of these dumbass influencers like this person, all about TRH, Cousins updating you on all the latest news and info and everything Real Housewives and pop culture. A lot of, and then Kirsty, whatever, that one Norwegian film journalist who her entire thing now is just trying to commodify this Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case, where she's just made so many videos that are anti-Blake Lively. Zach Peter, who I know Zach Peter is doing what he's doing because when he started doing it, he was getting pushed in the algorithm. He was getting likes. He was getting follows. He was monetizing off of it. He's just another like Perez Hilton wannabe, another one of these pop culture celebrity news commentators, content creators who knows the position to take in order to maximize views, in order to gain a following from it. He did that because he saw the success with being pro Johnny Depp, with being, whatever, name another legal battle between celebrity man, celebrity woman. And when you take the side of man, you will benefit from that. Okay, Ben Affleck. Why does Ben Affleck have anything to do with this? In a screenshot, Lively seemingly emailed Ben Affleck on May 17th, 2024 to ask for his input on her edits to the film. And this is what I responded to because these little pop culture housewife girlies who have been engaging in anti-Lively, pro-Baldoni content, they responded to this email Blake sent Ben Affleck and said, does Ryan Reynolds not find it strange that his wife is emailing other A-list celebrities asking for favors? Here's Blake Lively reaching out to Ben Affleck and oversharing in the process. Mind you, and I wrote this, it's amazing how Baldoni defenders will always find the misogynistic angle. Somehow every take they have always tinged in misogyny. What do you mean? Why would Ryan Reynolds find it strange that his wife is emailing people. Why are you referring to her in the context of being Ryan Reynolds' wife? She was the star of the film. She was a producer on the film. She very clearly cared about the film's success and the story being told. Like, is this because she's his wife, how dare she be talking to Ben Affleck? Did she get permission to send these emails? Yeah, you see what I mean? How these freaks always are exposing their asses. And it's like, yeah, you guys are losers. You guys are losers. You hate women, and you show over and over again that to be the case. Here's the email that Blake sent. I hope life is treating you beautifully. Ryan was going on and on about you recently amongst all the chaos. He was blown away by you, though he was equally effusive about your Dunkin' commercial. So now you have a Canadian fan club in my house and a Burbank one too. I'm writing with a zero pressure ask. I've just come out on the other side, well, almost, of the most upsetting experience I've ever had on a movie. The making of doc of this film would be more interesting than the movie could ever be. It's like if Wild Wild Country, Fire Festival, and Going Clear had a baby with The Room. Room also works though. Anyway, I ended up rewriting and restructuring the entire script. I also ended up having to direct the movie via the chaotic clown director, actor, producer, financier, studio head at the center. Yes, that's all the same person. Oh, and did I mention he and everyone he had on the movie is in a cult? If I would have just formally directed it, it would have been much easier, but having to troubleshoot through his taste, ego, and pre-existing decisions made it so difficult. And that's not even touching on any of the wild HR issues and beyond. So yet again, another reference, more evidence that there was this HR meeting to call attention to the very problematic and inappropriate behavior by Justin and Jamie. Okay. Anyway, now I'm in a bake-off with him in the edit. He's been editing since, I kid you not, July. They gave me 10 days to do my own pass, they being Sony. We have a bake-off in 12 days, but I have a friends and family preview in New York on Saturday in the meantime, so I can get one round of notes or feedback before we duke it out. If you have an hour 58 of free time at any time in the next few days, would you be willing to watch the movie and give me any idea or notes? I will pix it to you. You can literally text me a voice memo so you don't have to formally write thoughts. If your wife or kids are around, I'd love their opinion also. FYI, it does cover domestic violence, so no one is caught off guard. I'm such a fan of Jennifer's. I've told her so as much every time I've met her, and it would be an honor to have her take. It's just funny. Yeah, which Jennifer? Again, zero pressure. I just really want this to work. After all I've put into it, this movie nearly killed me, and I can think of very few people who would be as prescriptive and insightful as I know you would be. Ryan asked Matt to watch also, so I think he's watching this weekend. Good men showing up. I'm beyond grateful for that. Also, can you believe Jason Bourne is watching my movie? She's so cheesy. I'll get you an autograph one day. Don't worry. If you're still reading this, whoa, you're not nearly as busy as you think, or you're a very nice person. Sending you all the best. Okay, so this is a very normal thing, FYI. People in the industry asking other industry people for their professional notes, for creative advice. I don't understand why this is being taken as some gotcha, as some proof that once again, Justin Baldoni is the actual victim in this situation here. This is very normal behavior. Clearly they have a personal relationship. She knows him. Ryan knows him. This is not strange at all. This is what I mean by these Baldoni defenders constantly trying to twist everything in the most asinine of ways. Yeah, Blake was, I forgot. Blake was in the town with Ben Affleck, so they have previously worked together. Yeah, this is very normal. You show people in your industry the script, you show them a cut, you ask them for advice. I mean, if it weren't for George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy, not sure how Jurassic Park would have ended up, right? Like, Steven Spielberg has been very clear about the fact that George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy were very instrumental in finishing Jurassic Park. This is just something that happens all the fucking time. She mentioned Ryan, it's clear he knows she's reaching out, not that she needs his permission, but this is what I mean by steeped in misogyny, where it's like, why would it be strange? Why would Ryan Reynolds find it strange that his wife is emailing other A-list celebrities? He was doing that as well. He emailed Matt Damon. Matt Damon also watched, apparently. Him and his wife watched the film, gave their notes. Very strange. I think the strange thing is that you think this is strange. Also strange that you think that Ryan would care about this and not the actual issue, which is that his wife was being sexually harassed at her workplace. I think probably that's the thing that Ryan Reynolds cares about. Okay, and then Matt Damon. Similarly, Ryan Reynolds, in another email exchange, is shown asking Matt Damon and his wife Lucy to watch Lively's cut of the film. He wrote, "This movie has been one of the all-time zingers on and off set. One day we'll make a movie about the movie, and we can't wait to tell you all about it. The stories are already finding their place in the pantheon of legendary Hollywood insanity." In a separate email, Lively wrote to Matt and Lucy Damon, adding more zeros to the pressure. "Thank you for even considering it. And it's not a bad movie, so who knows, you may just enjoy some of it, but be warned, it covers domestic violence in key places, so just want to be sure you know. This movie nearly killed me." The director, co-star, producer, financier, head of the studio had zero experience, but the good news is that he also has no taste and an enormous ego, but only because he's in a cult and believes he's our century's prophet. I wish even one of those things was hyperbole. Anyway, juicy stuff. I told him on day one, after so much shit had already gone down, I don't need anything from you. I don't need you to guide me or to make me feel good. I've got me. All I need from you is I just need you to not make me feel like shit. That's it. I've got the rest. And that became true. What I didn't anticipate was having to do everything in this movie, rewriting the entire script, directing every actor. The DP was coming to me when he couldn't get anything from him. So way too often, then after all this, Justin wouldn't bring me into the edit. He had no idea what he had because he didn't author any of it. They gave me 10 days to scrap together an edit to compete with an edit he's been making since July. I've been asleep for about an hour and a half each night because it's obviously not enough time, so I've just been gunning it. Okay, and then just goes on to talk about kind of similarly what she said to Ben Affleck. In his message, Damon wrote, "We'll give you any help we can. And if this experience hasn't totally destroyed your soul, Blake, you should come direct your next movie at Artist Equity. We're kind of like a cult, but a really nice one." When discussing Baldoni, Reynolds wrote at the time that the actor-director asked for Lively's weight. "Several weeks before shooting, right after Blake had given birth to our son, this guy called our trainer Don and asked, 'How much do you think Blake will weigh in 2 weeks?' Don got very Long Island all of a sudden, and Justin backtracked. He said, 'I'm only asking because I have to carry her in a scene and I have low bone density.'" He's a fucking loser. I just, how much more do you have to see of Justin Baldoni to go, this guy's a freak, this guy's a loser, he's a weirdo? No shocker that a lot of people on set had a real bad time. It was actually 2 weeks before, Lively added. When pressed even further, he said he needed to train to adjust his bone density. Because, to circle back, he has low bone density. Lively also alleged of Baldoni, "He told me last year that he speaks to my father often. He hopes I don't mind. My father died 3 years ago." So do you see what I mean by this, by like them taking the Baha'i faith, but kind of turning it into this bastardized version of it, like being really inappropriate, really weird, and then hiding behind religion? Damon noted she was fascinated by this creep and suggested they make a movie about this guy. Lively said she had a name of her doc ready: Lights, Cult, Action. I've never seen anything like it. A malignantly vain, sociopathic foemanist with almost no sense of boundaries or shame. Good one, Ryan. I cannot believe he hasn't gone to jail or returned to the sun, Reynolds wrote. Okay, and then we talked about this a little bit, but Isabella Ferrer, who plays the younger version of Lively's character, was asked in her deposition how many times she witnessed inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments during the production of the film, to which she responded 3 times. In another moment, the actress was asked about Baldoni allegedly describing one of her intimate scenes in the film as hot. She described filming another scene for the film. This is Isabella Ferrer. "There was a scene in which my character Lily is in her kitchen and the other character played by my co-star Alex Neudstadter is making cookies, and there was a note that was a change to the scene in which he was feeding me cookie dough from a spoon. Justin offered that I lick the cookie dough off of the spoon and look up at my co-star in a way that deemed to me kind of inappropriate given the context of the scene. It didn't make sense to me in the scene that we were filming that my character would do that kind of thing given that she was 16 and in high school. This is according to Alex a couple months later when there was a moment when I was Away from both of them, and we were getting ready to go back to Jersey City for the first time, Justin pulled Alex aside and said that he wanted Alex to get to know me really well, and yes, winked at him. She interpreted the wink as something of that kind of manner I found to be inappropriate. What is wrong with this man? Why? Why? She also alleged that It Ends With Us author Colleen Hoover told her she wasn't comfortable with Baldoni attending the Book Bonanza Festival at the time with her. I think the main thing that I remember her having discomfort with is the fact that he had been lying about her religion and her religious faith and telling people that she was of Baha'i faith when she wasn't. I think that was the main thing. That is so weird to lie about. Okay, and then here's the part about Sony. Andrea Giannetti, an executive vice president of production and senior creative at Sony Pictures, confirmed in her deposition that she referred to Lively as a fucking terrorist in a conversation with producer Jamie Heath after learning that the actress had threatened to walk away from the film unless a list of requested changes were made. There was a tremendous amount of money that has been invested and spent, and we had to finish the movie or it was unreleasable, she said. But following the film's box office success, Giannetti texted Lively, Blake, 50 million, your blood, sweat, tears, brilliant smarts, heart and soul in every single frame. My God, it's incredible. Thank you 50 million times, and it's only Saturday night. Keep in mind that when Blake Lively went to Sony and was trying to file an HR complaint, they were like, you need to go to Wayfair to file this. But Wayfair didn't have an HR department. And essentially, she didn't have the access to the resources she needed in order to fix this problem. Sony very much so did not seem to give a shit. They were like, we can't control what they're doing on set. These concerns need to be raised with the production studio. But that production studio was owned by two of the people who were causing the issues. And of course here, this is so classic studio exec only cares about money. That they were pissed that Blake Lively threatened to walk away unless these changes were made on set. But then when the film made a bunch of money, texted Lively to be like, you're incredible. Oh my God, 50 mil. You're amazing. In other unsealed messages, senior execs at Sony Pictures Entertainment privately criticized Lively in internal emails dated August 21st, 2024. In the emails, Sanford Panich, my old boss, executive vice president and president of Sony Pictures Motion Picture Group, weighed in on the controversy surrounding Lively, Baldoni, and the film. It's quite ironic because she has a huge hit movie headed to 300 million plus and probably will never work again or not for a while. Although even Hathaway recovered, Tom thinks she's probably and bizarrely unhireable right now. This makes me so mad, but also how many times do I talk about that the worst sin that can be committed in Hollywood, according to Hollywood, is for a woman to be labeled as difficult, for a woman to be unlikable. Anne Hathaway catching strays, even though Anne Hathaway recovered, do you know that Anne Hathaway did nothing wrong? Anne was also a victim of just people hating women. Of going, you know what? I've had enough of Anne Hathaway. You know what? She tries too hard. Don't like the theater kid shtick. I think I'm over her. And I've talked about this a lot. Anne Hathaway has addressed, she's like, I don't know. Everyone just kind of started to hate me. So I felt like I should just go away. But it's like, oh my God, them talking about Blake Lively going, she has this really successful movie and it's crazy because she'll probably never work again because of these issues that she caused. All they care about is the money. That's all they care about. Another executive wrote, this'll pass. She's going to be fine. Like the fact that this was still, though, the onus was on Blake. That what was talked about here was like Blake's behavior being the issue. No, disagree, Panich responded. She's done for, at least for a while. It's cooked. They also criticized Lively for releasing her hair care brand, calling it epic level stupid. She wouldn't listen, Panich added. She knows better. In an August 9th, 2024 message, Tom Rothman, chairman and CEO of Sony Pictures Motion Picture Group, described the fallout as a fucking disaster and that none of the who or right or wrong matters at all. The mess is the story now, and it will define the film. No one can watch the film the same way. Tragic. Well, guess what? It made a lot of money. It made y'all a lot of money. In another email, Rothman said that Lively has so much looks, money, fame, hunk husband, kids, that the instinct of the crowd is to tear her down. Yeah, like what happened to Anne Hathaway, yet again, bringing up Anne Hathaway, and neither of them deserve it, even though she did bring it on herself by refusing to listen to advice. Okay, how can you say in the same sentence, neither of these women deserved it, but that Blake still brought it on herself? But if she doesn't deserve it, then how did she bring it on herself? If she doesn't deserve it, maybe the problem is the person who was engaging in that behavior. Anyway, yeah, very depressing to read these as far as the Sony emails and messages go, because these are some of those powerful men in the industry who clearly don't give a shit about the continued power imbalance, gendered power imbalances, misogyny, abuse that exists on these film sets. It's terrible. It's like after the Me Too movement, after Black Lives Matter, these pledges, not that you should have ever believed it in the first place, but it just shows you how hollow it was. It shows you these companies, every time they're like, we pledge to be better. They don't give a fuck.